But today I'm extremely honored to have a couple guests here with me on our show, and these are folks that I met actually through working out, actually through the gym is actually where I met this family, and from our initial meeting and just kind of getting to know one another, one thing led to another, and they ended up coming into our clinic and coming to a few of our events, and they've seen just some really cool things happen in their life and changes happen in their life, and they've been an inspiration to me over this past year. And in a particular way, I know that they had a connection to the Maximize Living program that we did, and so what I did was I simply asked them if they would be open to coming in and sharing about what they have experienced in their life and testify a little bit to kind of where their life was and what they've seen happen. So they've actually agreed to that, and they came down to the show here today, and they're here with me live in the studio. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about what it looks like for an individual and for a couple and for a family, because this is not just an individual, this is a couple and then a family, what it looks like to live Maximize Living and what it looks like to actually change your life and your health. And so first of all, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Really excited to have Mark and Holly here with me on the show. And you know, the first question that comes to my mind, I think a lot of people may think as well, is, you know, what was it, and this is something as individuals you'll have to probably answer, maybe even collectively, but what was it that happened or that finally led you to deciding to change your health and to make the changes that you've made in your life?
I'll tell you, really all this started with my very competitive wife here, who I'd say it started about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. There was a Biggest Loser competition at Holly's office. And Holly's very, as I said, very competitive. So she came home one day and said, honey, I think I want to do this. This is a competition. It's something that I can get into. And it really all started originally with the combination of that and the fact that on our street live the owners of this CrossFit gym that you refer to, who had been after us for a number of years to come work out with them. Now, we were both, at that time, I would say, out of shape, like most people are at our age. And I'll let her pick it up from here, but it all started with her getting the competitive bug to want to make some changes in her life. And it believe me, at this time, I was not on board. So I watched her for a little while, but I'll let her pick it up from there.
Well, like Mark said, I'm pretty competitive. So when I knew that I needed to get in shape, and I have 3 kids, and not that that's an excuse, but it gave me the opportunity to focus on them and not on myself for a really long time. So when this contest came up at work, I didn't even know there was a cash prize involved at this point. I'm just like, contest? And something where I can control my input. You know, it's not gambling. It's something where I have control over it. So I thought maybe this is the thing that will get me going, because I hadn't been able to motivate myself any other way. And started just slowly at first, just cut out sweets and cut out soft drinks. And then at one point I finally got a hold of our neighbors, Chris and Jennifer Haynes, and said, okay, I think I'm ready to try this CrossFit thing. And they said, come on in. And I did that. And that's where I met Dr. Pete. And I just kept hearing Dr. Pete, Dr. Pete. One day I asked Chris, what kind of doctor is he? And he said, he's a chiropractor. And I started talking to Dr. Pete about Mark, who has chronic back pain, and he invited us to a community dinner, and that's sort of how we got going. But the contest is what started it, and then CrossFit built on it. The diet change, that was just got the ball rolling.
So that's why competitions and being competitive actually can be a good thing. Because
That's right.
I've been accused of being over competitive, and
is there such thing?
Yeah, exactly. So for some of us who are out there who have competitive spirits and are kind of driven by challenges, it can actually work out to be a really good thing. And I want to talk just briefly about when did it transition then, because that whole idea of competition, because at some point the competition ended, right?
Right.
How did you do with that, by the way?
I won.
So you're
I
a
won.
winner, yeah. So
Yeah.
as competitive people, it's, we like to win. So then, but you kept going, right? So what happened for you, and then Holly first, and then Mark talk about kind of what happened for you.
Well, I've heard that if you do something for 28 days, it becomes a habit, good or bad. So I think at that point, I wasn't drinking soft drinks anymore. I hadn't eaten sweets in 6 months and was working out regularly, and it just became a habit and a way of life. And then when we heard you talk, we're like, that really just makes sense. It makes sense. And so it was more than just a habit at that point. We were really sold on what we learned.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I want to mention too that for the first 3 months or so that Holly was doing this, she was doing it on her own, really. She didn't have a support system. She didn't really have much of a support system at home because she'd be on the exercise bike, really getting it, or watching Lost or something on TV, and I'd be sitting over on the couch with a bowl of ice cream saying, "You're doing good, honey. Keep it up." And I told her then, I said, I'm just not ready to do anything. And I really, to give you a little background, I didn't really think I could because I've had so many back problems. I'm 44 years old. 10 years ago, I had surgery on my lower back. And I really had gotten to the point where I didn't have a lot of hope left. I didn't think I could do exercising like what she was doing. And I had been through numerous chiropractors, and I didn't believe that a chiropractor could help me because, they had not up to that point. That they treated my symptoms and my pain, only when I was in their office, but nothing had ever stuck, and none of the solutions have been long term. So everything changed really when we came to see you at your first at the first community outreach dinner, and and we had gotten to the point where I think after we heard you speak, Dr. Pete, we realized, okay, it was kind of a wake-up call. We're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, and we're getting the same results. And all of a sudden, kind of the veil was lifted, and we realized, wait a minute. I think Mark Twain said, if you find yourself going along with the masses, you need to rethink what you're doing. And that's what we were doing. We were going along with the masses. We were out of shape. We were overweight, and in pain, and we were doing the same things. So when we heard you speak, I thought, well, that's right. We need to make some changes if we expect to feel better, and particularly to set a good example for our kids, who at that time were all under the age of 10, and maybe prevent them from going through some of the same things that we've gone through.
Yeah. So two things were kind of brought up even in what you were just saying there, so I kind of want to expand a little bit on that. Obviously as a chiropractor myself, I have a lot of people that come into me and they've said, hey, I've been to chiropractors before, and they kind of have this idea in their mind of what chiropractic is. So being somebody who's, like you said, had been to several chiropractors before, you've had a long history of chronic lower back pain, even have had back surgery. Talk to me a little bit about the difference, because as people kind of talk and they try to figure out what is chiropractic and what do you do that's different, what's been your experience? Just because as a patient of other places, then obviously you come to our clinic, what has been the difference for you?
Well, my experience with previous chiropractors, all very nice people and well-meaning people, was that when I had back pain, I would go to the chiropractor and they would adjust me, and they would talk about good posture and how I should lift things and that sort of thing. And it was all well and fine while I was there, and it made me feel a little bit better. But it was, a lot of money for a very short-term solution. Mm-hmm. And I had never had a chiropractor talk to me about nutrition, very little about exercise, none about getting the toxins out of your life. So, it was a totally different thing. And these were, when we heard you speak about these things, these were things that kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together in my mind and made me realize, okay, that actually makes sense. and to be adjusted for